Charles, we have got the multifamily attorney here with us today. Charles, we're excited to have you. You've got a very interesting background, and I can't wait to discuss it a little bit with you.
Wow, I can't wait to hear it too. Sounds
Man,
interesting.
yeah, no, your background, right, is law school, and then you started investing in multifamily, and then ultimately created kind of an academy that I'd love to be able to share with our listeners today. So, Charles, I'm teed up for you, man. Give us a little bit about your background and how you made that transition.
Well, I started out right out of college in the insurance business, so that if any of you have any children when they get out of college, they wish to go into the insurance business. I'll tell you right now, there's something very wrong with that person. It's a fallback position, and of course, present company excluded, right? Yeah, I'm not talking about you guys because I did it because my dad did it, and I took the path of least resistance. And after I found out how successful my father was in the insurance business and that I could never touch him, I said, I can't do this. I got to go out and do something else. So went to law school and then went back in the insurance business on the benefits side. I owned my own benefits administration company. Worst business in the world to be in. I hated it. Yeah, exactly. For those of you not listening to this on the radio, you just missed a couple of faces, that were made of how bad it is. But I finally, told my wife, I said, I can't do this anymore. And she goes, what do you want to do? I said, I've always wanted to own apartments ever since I was a kid. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And she said, all right, let's go do it. So I sold the benefits firm and we went out and started buying property. And I've never looked back since. It's been the best decision of my life. I absolutely love apartments. They make sense. They're logical. Their numbers work. And from an economic standpoint, the supply and demand and the way they work is just brilliant. It's amazing, and I love. Every day I wake up, I can't wait to get to work, which I've never felt that way before. So, and then, back during the last crash, I decided I watched so many people lose their properties, including me. I lost some of my properties back then. That I decided that I would take what I learned through all of that and start teaching people the right way to buy apartments. And that has been an absolute blast as well. And I've done that now for about 15 years, where I have a Multifamily Investing Academy as the educational arm of Doben's Law. And I just teach my clients how to buy property the right way. I look over their shoulder. I make sure they don't make mistakes. And we just, I said to you earlier, I said, one of the biggest badges of honor that I have as one of these multifamily gurus is that I can safely say that there are a lot of students of mine that have far exceeded my success in the business, which is, I take that as a huge pat on the back as to how well I teach people to get out there and do this business the right way. So,
that I'm glad you say that, but I will say that you saying that about, I think it's a good point that a good teacher, his students will outperform them. And it makes me realize I'm not such a good teacher. Right? Because I had poured into Cameron.
Already?
You should have told that guy, oh, can you just leave?
Man, we're not even in 5 minutes.
When's he going to go? When's he going to leave? Quick. I had this one guy call me up very early on. He said, I want to come to your office and just mirror you and just follow what you do. I'm thinking to myself, that's the stupidest.
Cameron?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. All right. Well, yeah. Let's get this thing moving along. Charles, you shared a lot with us right there, but I'm gonna kind of maybe unpack that for our listeners a little bit. One of the things that you mentioned was you said you're pretty miserable. You were enamored with apartments since a small child, right? You gave us a few reasons there, but tell us about kind of that foray, for that first step into apartments and multifamily. What did that look like for you?
Well, what happened is when I sold the insurance business, I essentially burnt the ships and I wasn't going back and I had to succeed. I had a wife and 4 kids, so I had to succeed. And I knew that to be successful, I had to make 2 offers a week. And a lot of that dates back to my insurance days as to what my sales manager told me that I needed to do to be a success. And I realized early on, and I found this out from some of my most successful students, is that this business, you might think you're getting into the real estate business. You're not. You're getting into the sales and marketing business. This business is all about sales and marketing, and it's all about getting your offers out the door. Same as an insurance salesperson. If he doesn't sit down and make offers in front of his clients, he's never going to make a sale. And the same is true with multifamily. You got to make offers. And so when I first got out of the business, I went to one of these training guru weekend boot camp warriors, and I took a couple of home study courses. I read up on everything. I had every book in the world on multifamily investing, and I started making offers. And my goal was to buy 20 units in the first year. That's all, 20 units. And if you read my book, How to Own 1,000 Apartments in 5 Years, the first year, all you have to do is buy 20 units. And that could be 4 5s, 5 4s, 2 10s, 120. It didn't matter. If you have to get something under your belt in the first year. So my goal first year was 20 units. Within 6 months, I got a phone call back from one of the brokers I've been reaching out to, and she said, "I found the deal for you. It's perfect. You're gonna buy this property." I said, "Okay, tell me about it." She says it's a 128 unit property up in Michigan. I'm like, "Oh, geez, that's a little out of my safe space. I don't know if I can do 128 units." And she said, "Okay, well, we could probably carve up the property because they were built at different times." And she said, "We have this 40 unit Class A property that's built 10 years ago. Maybe we could just buy that." I said, "Yeah, that's 20 more than my goal, but that sounds really cool." So within about 30 days, I had got under contract and purchased my first 40 unit property, and I was off to the races. And then what happened was that 128 now became 88, and the seller was still in trouble. And the bank liked me and said, "Hey, do you want to buy the 88 across the street?" And I said, "Listen, I just bought the 40. I'm tapped. I don't know where you think I'm coming up with money to buy another 88. And they said, "Well, how much would you need?" And I said, "Well, I'd probably need about $750,000 to buy it." They said, "We'll lend you the 750, and then you can buy the whole thing." I said, "So what you're telling me is you're going to give this to me, no money down?" And they said, yeah, we are. And I said, "Let me talk to my wife." So I cover the mouthpiece and say, "Honey, they want us to buy the property, no money down. They're going to lend us the money to buy it. What should I tell them?" She goes, "Ask them how quickly we can close." And 2 weeks later, I owned 128 units. So the moral of the story is still stay with your goals, stick with your goals, but put yourself out there. And if you're not making offers, this is nothing more than a very expensive hobby. And I was making offers, and that's what got me to the point where I could buy the 128. If I sat in my basement, reading about multifamily all day, I would never have owned the 128. So you got to make offers all the time. That's the name of the game.
Okay, so Charles, with a lot of the episodes we've had here, we've talked a lot about long-term rentals, and we've had a lot of people with that had syndications. Now, you want mind maybe comparing some of the pros and cons of those compared to, because what you're talking about is different. I mean, there's syndicators, like we talked about a little bit before. Syndicators are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, let's start here. Why don't you explain to Cameron what a syndication is? Okay. And then let's go from there.
All right. So syndication is when what you're doing is you're to complete your capital stack. Meaning that's the capital stack is nothing more than a fancy term for 100% of your money to buy the property. Where is 100% of your money coming from to buy that property? Well, we all know the bank is going to make up 75, 80% of that capital stack. Where do you get the rest of it? Well, the rest of it comes from either your own pocket, your down payment, or you go out and you tap the shoulders of all your friends and family and people you met on LinkedIn and all these other places, and you ask them to put their hard-earned money into your deal as an investment. And what they're actually doing when they do that is they're buying into your business. They're now investing as a member into the LLC that will own this property. And in order to do that, you're going to give them back a membership interest in your company. And that all determined how much money you need to raise, what type of returns you're going to get. And that's how you close your capital stack and achieve the 100% level. Now, that is as basic as you can possibly get. But what's happening now, and you mentioned it, Anthony, is that everybody and their brother is a syndicator now. And what happened was back in 2012, after the crash, the government, in all of their infinite wisdom, decided to say that through the Jobs Act, that you can go out there and raise this private money and you don't have to be registered as a securities investor, a securities dealer. You can just go out there and say, hey, put your money with me as long as you're accredited, and you can invest in my deals. And then what happened was some of these general partners, we call them GPs, some of these GPs who were putting the deals together would turn to other people and say, hey, why don't you go out to your friends and family and then raise money for my deal, and I'll give you a cut of the action. And so by doing that, a lot of these sub-syndicators would now be part of the deal, and they were running around telling everybody, hey, I own 1,000 apartments, even though they never set foot in the property in the first place. And so that's what's happened since 2012. We've seen this whole cottage industry of sub-syndicators grow up and act like, hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread, because the market has done nothing but rise. And now with the market turning, you're going to start to see a lot of these people wondering, wait a minute, why am I not getting that 9% preferred return? And why am I not getting the, what is a cash call? Why are you now calling me up asking me for more money? I don't have anything. My friends and family were expecting you to give me a 9% preferred return. So there's a whole cottage industry. And what happened was I was on this guy's TV, or I don't know, whatever he calls it. He has a show at 7:00 on every Thursday. And it was originally called the Multifamily Shark Tank until he got a letter. And then it was the Multifamily Shark Pool. And now it's the Multifamily Deal Room. It's Cornelius Cannon, super nice guy. And I was the mean shark, if you can imagine that. And so I would sit there and look at these deals and say, these are terrible deals. Why are you doing this deal? And the reason why they were doing this deal was because they were making a nice acquisition fee. And they were living for the acquisition fee and not for the quality of the investment. They were nothing more than transactional investors, just like a broker is. They're essentially nothing more than a broker. There was one guy that actually admitted on the show that he says, hey, you can't challenge my acquisition fee. How else do you think I pay? I feed my family every month. I'm like, I don't want to hear that the guy who's leading the deal feeds his family off of the acquisition fee, because that tells me he's not into the deal. He's into the acquisition fee. And what happened is, and this happened to me back during the crash. I saw this when I had partners, is that we were doing one particular deal, and in this deal there were 6 other GPs. In other words, the guy who put this deal together went out to 6 other people and said, I'll make you a GP if you go raise money from your friends and family. It essentially is multi-level marketing for multifamily investing. And the only guy who's making any money is the guy at the top. People at the bottom don't make a dime. And so I thought to myself, you know what? I know these 6 people, just because of the way the deal is structured, they're never going to make any money. And so they went to some guru who taught them about how to be a syndicator, because you're going to make millions in multifamily. And they went at it and they said, okay, I'm going to go out there and become a syndicator, and then I will be able to do it next time, and I will lead the charge. And what ended up happening, I sat there and I just thought to myself, these people are doing this because nobody's worked the numbers. Nobody's looked at the numbers. And so what I ended up doing is I created this online calculator under multifamilyinvestingacademy.com passive investing is a scam. And I think you hyphenate every word in that. And I thought, when I teach people, they always ask me the question, how many units do I need to own to replace my income? So I said, okay, put your income into this slide, $10,000. Tell me about the deal. Tell me about the financing. How many partners do you have? And so essentially, when I got down to that question, I broke the people up into two categories. There were the Warren Buffett investors, and then there were passive investor investors. And the passive investors paid out a 9% preferred return every year. The deal lasted 5 to 7 years, and once it was over, they give you all your money back, and you have to start all over again. But the Warren Buffett model was just a couple of people acting as real partners, like the three of us. We go out and we buy one property. We buy property that we can afford to buy, and we get a good deal on it, just like Warren Buffett does with all of his deals. Finds value. We promote that value. We pull money out, and we go buy another property. And we don't care about the 9% preferred return because we're investors. And Warren Buffett has paid one distribution in the whole 58 years he's been in business. And when he was asked about that one distribution, he says, I must have been in the bathroom when they took that vote. Because he understands that, especially in real estate, the power is you just keep reinvesting and growing. And so you run this passive investing is a scam calculator. And if we plugged it in, it'd be like 37 units. All we would need to own is 37 units. As you know, we're doing the property management, and within 37 units, we'd have the $10,000 a month of income. The passive investor would need like 2,800 units before he would see that kind of money. And it just made you think, why would anybody be a syndicator? Why? Because they haven't looked at the numbers. It sounds great. It sounds so awesome that you don't have to do a thing and you're going to make millions. Sounds like every single multi-level scam I've ever seen in my life.
It almost sounds like an IUL, but I digress. So Charles.
Okay, for those of you that missed that, that was a life insurance term. I remember that from my days. Okay,
yeah,
that was a life insurance joke. If you guys caught that,
yeah,
good one, Anthony.
There aren't many life insurance jokes, but
I got one for you. What Woody Allen said: "What's worse than death? Spending an evening with a life insurance agent."
Tell me about it.
I would say what would be worse to be hanging out with a CPA. Charles, I heard you say something that you're talking about the Warren Buffett model, and you'd given an example. I think the phrasing that you said was you bought an apartment that you're
value
you can afford to buy.
Yeah.
And I thought about the first two deals that you described. I think it was one deal that turned into two. Yeah. One of them, it sounded like you did the due diligence. You came in with a big down payment.
Yep.
And the second one sounds like you financed it 100%, if I caught that right.
Yeah.
Was there a difference between the performance of those two deals?
Okay, Cameron, great question. Great question. You picked up on a very subtle point that I teach my students all the time. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. Anthony,
I'll give him a pat on the back when he deserves it.
But the jury is still out for you, man. I'm still waiting to hear something from you. Okay? But that's such a great point, because I teach people to buy property the right way. And what I mean by that is, when you're buying property, you're buying a business, and all business requires cash. When a business is out of cash, it's out of business. The same is true with multifamily. You have to buy it the right way. And in those two examples that I gave, I said to people, I owned a 40 unit and I owned the 88 unit across the street. Which one did I make more money on every month? And the answer is the 40 unit. I didn't make a dime on the 88 unit because I didn't buy it right. I came to the business with no cash. And so that business was constantly debt strapped, debt burdened, because I was at 100% leverage. The other one, I brought money to the table. I purchased it the right way. I had a very nice debt coverage ratio. My sleep number, as I call it, was very high. I always made all my payments, always had a distribution. Everything was fine on that property. The other one I struggled with because it was laden with debt. And so I tell my students, hey, how many of you would like to own a property tomorrow, 100%, no money down?
Yeah.
And everyone hand shoots up. And I said, you got something to learn and I got to teach you. And the answer is, I can put you in a deal tomorrow with no money down, but owning multifamily will change your life. And that type of ownership will kill you because you bought it the wrong way. You're buying a business, you need cash, whether it comes out of your pocket as sweat equity, or you got somebody else that's going to come up that's going to back you. You need to have cash for those times when things get tough, and they always do.
Awesome. Great sentiment. Thanks for sharing. Charles,
Question.
I was gonna bring it to something a little more current. You said that you were just at a conference that was discussing converting hotels to apartments. I was hoping you could share a little bit of a takeaway or two from that with our audience.
Oh my gosh, guys, this is huge. Okay, let me give you the backstory. One of my students, guys, brilliant. And my students are the best. They're so smart. This guy calls me up back in 2019, and he says, "Hey, I'm thinking about buying a hotel and converting it to apartments." And at the time, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know anything about hotels. I mean, and when you, as a lawyer, you learn to stay in your own lane. You can't go out there thinking you're an expert. And I said, well, I'll help you take a look at it, but good luck to you. Pat on the back. And what happened was he was approached by two brothers, and they said, "Listen, we know you're a smart guy. We know you're looking to buy apartments. Take a look at this hotel." And he looks at it. He goes, "Yeah, okay. I don't want to buy a hotel. Look at the numbers. Go through the numbers." So he goes through the numbers, and he's like, and he starts, and he's so smart. He's an engineer. And he starts ripping them apart. He says, "I can't figure out what's wrong with these numbers. They just are phenomenal. They were just, this is huge." He goes out and he buys this hotel, and they're slowly converting it to multifamily. That hotel now pays him $150,000 a year income. And that's his income. The two brothers who are partners with it, they get 150 as well, and they keep 100 in the coffers just for a rainy day. That thing has become an absolute cash cow because the numbers work. Then he went out and bought another one and another one and another one. Finally, I'm watching him do this, and I'm thinking, okay, there's something here. And he says, "Charlie, I got this deal coming up for you." He shows it to me. I look at the numbers. I'm like, okay, I love this deal. I want in. He goes, "All right, you're in." So I wrote him a check. I invested in that hotel. Then I invested in another hotel, and then I invested in another hotel with him. And the numbers are absolutely unbelievable. I said, "David, we've got to teach people how to do this because this is not like just buying a multifamily property. There's more to it than that." But the thing is, over the last 5 years, people have been fighting and screaming and complaining they can't find any good deals. Multifamily is all overpriced. And they're right. They're right. It's tough to find any deals. But what this is taking hotels, existing buildings. We talk about zoning. We talk about the planning department, existing buildings, converting them from usually one bedroom, guest suite, rooms, or even guest suites into studios or 2 bedrooms, and then watching the cap rate change overnight. And so here's what I mean. The demand for studios in this country is huge because the number of single family households, single head of households have increased, have quadrupled since 1960. So the demand is so great, and they're not building anymore. So when you hear about a million apartment starts in the next year that are coming online, very few of them are studios because it doesn't make economic sense to build studios at the numbers and the rents they need to get to pay for that building because the government's driven up the cost of building so high. that leaves a huge demand for these units. And what I always say when I'm talking to my students, I said, hey, you have to find out the cap rate for the deal you're looking at in that marketplace. And that cap rate is set by the market. It is not set by mere mortals. You can't just go in there and make up your own cap rate. The market tells you what it is, unless you're converting from one asset class to another asset class. So you can buy a hotel at a 15 cap, convert them into studio units, and sell them at an 8 cap. And you talk about the Warren Buffett model for finding value, that's it. And the numbers make so much sense that our numbers, with the numbers we need to make on the rent for a studio, are even lower than what Section 8 is providing. So the numbers, it's you cannot beat this model, and the demand is huge. And we want to convert 100,000 hotel units into apartments over the next 5 years because the demand, the need in this country for this type of housing. Just to give you an example, we're looking at one particular property in, a tertiary market in Illinois. And so one of the guys in the group says, are we sure that the market in that town could support, 90 studio units? And the other guy says, run an ad in Facebook Messenger or Facebook Marketplace that you're going to be offering studio apartments in that marketplace and see what comes back. I tell you guys, it would make you cry listening to these people talk about how they can't find any place to live. They can't put grandma there. Their son got back from college. He's got no place to go. It's amazing the demand in this country because the developers are not filling it because they economically can't afford to. So these hotel to apartment conversions, we're teaching it. It's going to be my student, David Peters, myself. We've got Professor Alex Cartwright is going to be doing a keynote. The guy is absolutely brilliant. And it's going to be in Chicago, June 28th, 29th, and 30th. And it's going to be like sipping from a fire hose. We just did a beta seminar down in Fort Lauderdale, and people couldn't believe what we were teaching. It was that good. It's unbelievable.
Charles, as you were talking there, it was reminding me, we interviewed a demographer.
Oh, did you really? Okay, which one did you interview?
We interviewed Ken Gronbeck.
Oh, okay, Ken Gronbeck. Listen, I love that stuff because I had the guys who wrote Big Shifts Ahead. Yeah. They were on my podcast, and and another great book is Mauro Guillen, 2030. That book is amazing. Yeah, I love this stuff. What did he say?
Same is we interviewed Ken Gronbeck, and don't hold me to these numbers, but from what I remember is he said that everybody talks about how big the baby boomers demographically are, just the size, right? The population of that. And it was 78 million, I believe.
Yeah.
But he was talking about Gen Y, which is somebody born between 85 to 2005, I believe. And it's the size of that generation is 100 million.
Wow.
Right. And so what he was talking about is we asked him for a forecast. We said, hey, just based upon demographics, what do you see moving forward? And he said, I see no slowdown in the demand for multifamily whatsoever.
No.
And I think what you just shared with us kind of lines up exactly with what Ken was sharing.
Exactly. But what the thing is with Ken, what Ken just said, what you said, Ken said, that really confirms what I'm saying is that not only is this a huge demand for the baby boomers because they're getting older, they don't, their kids are moved out looking for something smaller, but it's also a huge demand for that generation you just mentioned. I keep forgetting Gen Y, that they are in the same need. They have the same need for this type of product, and no one's developing this product. And I'm not kidding you guys. I think we did the number. If you purchase a property at a 15 cap, which is what hotels tend to go for, because the cap rate is a measure of the durability of the income off the property, and hotels, their durability of the income isn't very good. So you're looking at a higher cap rate. When you go from a 15 cap to a 6 cap, the value of the dollar in NOI goes from $6 to $16.67.
Mm.
So just by converting that hotel, probably spend about $10,000 per unit in rehab. That's 15 cap hotel to a 6 cap. You've increased every dollar that you increase the NOI by. You've increased the value of your net worth from $6 to $16. It's a $10. It's 100% in. No, it's 1,000% increase, or 10 times increase in net worth. No, 1,000. No, yeah, no. Every $1 of income goes up by $10. Yeah, so that's what happens to your net worth in this structure, and nobody's doing it. Nobody's talking about it. Everybody's beating each other up for the same multifamily deal that's come. That they've traded 5 times in the last 6 years. So it's nuts.
Charles, what would you say to somebody that might be sitting on the sidelines, has been a little bit reserved about kind of getting into the game with multifamily? What would you say to them? What would be first steps? Where should they go?
Oh, come to me. Come to my hotel conversion summit. Get to know me. Meet Dave Peters. Find out how we teach our students. I've already got 30 of my students are already signed up to be there because they love how we teach, and that is the best place to learn. Go to my website, multifamilyinvestingacademy.com. Watch my podcast. I had a couple of clowns on there, Anthony and Cameron, one time, and Anthony didn't say a word the whole time.
That's how we like it around here, Charles. That's how we like it.
But really, that's the best way. I just want to see my students succeed, and I think I've finally found something that I get so excited about this. Right now, I'm putting together the manual, the online training. We're going to create software so that you plug in the numbers, you hit a button, the letter of intent is created. You hit a button, the purchase and sale document is created. I mean, we're going to make this as seamless as possible. We actually have a level of membership into our program where you actually partner with David and me. We put our our money into our deals, and we do it the Warren Buffett way. We don't syndicate it, Anthony. It's like we keep our groups down to 5 partners in the deal, and they're all clients of ours. And we're all equal, no passive investors. We're all part of the deal, and you're going to learn how to run it so you can go out and do it yourself.
So what would somebody need? What qualifications would they need to show up at the conference later this month? Are they accredited? Should they have a certain amount of money to put into a deal? What should we be looking for?
That's a really good question. That's why we created levels of membership. To come to the conference, just pay the entrance fee and come on down. It's 3 days of a very intense training from lawyers, professor. I mean, you're not going to see this at any other place. But when you decide to start working with us, we do have levels of membership to teach you different ways. And the highest level of membership where you're a partner with us, we are going to want to make sure you've got a good credit rating, you got money in the bank. This is not a get rich quick scheme. We want partners who are smart, savvy, that we want to work with, and that have some resources in case things get tough, as they sometimes do.
Awesome.
So I know you. Well, you also, in addition to this event, you also have an online course teaching. What will they learn on this course? Because it sounds very interesting.
Oh, my multifamily OS. Okay. Yeah. And that was what we did also in Fort Lauderdale. So the Fort Lauderdale was actually 4 days, 2 conferences. First 2 days was a mastermind for all of my students. And I don't know if you're familiar with the program EOS with Gina Whitman.
We're actually incorporating that in our business.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Because I had an implementer came down, taught my students for the whole entire day about EOS. And the name of my program is Multifamily OS. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because I finally looked around and I thought to myself, there's so many people in this space teaching you how to buy apartments. Some are good, some are total fly-by-nights. And I thought to myself, here's my book, How to Own 1,000 Apartments in 5 Years. And the truth is, you cannot do that unless you have a business with systems in place to help you get to that level. And so I thought to myself, I need to teach people how to start a multifamily real estate investing business. And that's what Multifamily OS is. So in addition to, all the training, the best training in the world, and direct contact with me, all of my students have my cell phone number. I also teach you how to build the business so that it'll launch you into, it's really to create a legacy. That's what I'm all about. Is if you're looking to leave your business to your children, you better have something there to give them. If you're out there syndicating, you're never going to leave your kids anything, because 5 years from now, somebody else is going to sell those properties and give you your money back, and you're out of the business until you do it again. So I'm here to teach people how to build a legacy as a multifamily real estate investing business.
Man, I love that. Charles, I got maybe one last question here before we wrap up. We've been a lot of the questions so far have been kind of looking forward and opportunities, but I was going to look back. You said that you got started. I don't know exact date, but you said you made it through 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
Was there a lesson or two that you can share with our listeners there?
Oh my gosh, a lesson or two. Oh, that was absolutely miserable. It was never saw it coming, though I should have. Nowadays I look back on it, and as I always say, the older I get, the smarter Warren Buffett becomes. You've got to be very smart, be very patient, look for deals, and people need to understand what a deal is. I heard one guy say, I have a lot of deals that come across my desk every day. Okay, no, you have a lot of opportunities that come across your desk every day. Doesn't mean that it's a deal. I mean, a deal is something where you can really add value and create value because you are going to unleash that value. Paul Moore is a great guy. You guys should have him on your podcast. He's a good friend, and he wrote a blog post in Bigger Pockets where he basically said that as investors, we don't care what the market is doing. And when I stopped right there reading that sentence, I was a little shocked. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then he went on to say that as investors, we buy value, and we know how to unlock that value regardless of what the market's doing. If the market's high, we win. If the market's low, we don't win as much. But because we know how to unlock value in our business, we will always do well. And I thought, he is absolutely right, because that's what Warren Buffett does. He sits back and waits to find something of value. And the thing is, the power of the multifamily cap rate can solve a lot of problems, but that's only if you buy value. I mean, just think about it. If you can buy something for $6 and trade and sell it for $16, how many of those would you buy? As many as you possibly could. And that's exactly what multifamily can do when you buy it the right way. So I think it really gave me a perspective on that last crash. Really gave me a perspective on sitting back and being more patient. I was out there, espousing what the gurus have been talking about: go big or go home. When what I should have done is I should have gone home. And in this case, now that's not going to happen anymore. I think hotel to apartment conversions are the way to go. If you're looking for value, look no further and just learn how to do it. And I see some of these gurus out there trying to explain it, and they're doing it all wrong. So that's why you should come out to Chicago. It's got a golf course too. The hotel's got a golf course, so come on out. I'll play golf.
What are the dates again? And make sure you get us the info, and we'll put it in the show notes here.
I will. 28th, 29th, and 30th of July. It's Oak Glen or Oak Brook. I don't know, Chicago. It's one of those oak places about 40 minutes outside of O'Hare. And it's going to be, when you come to one of my seminars, it's intense. We go nonstop all day, and it's going to be the thing is, I teach it in an amphitheater. So it's like a law school classroom. And, we sit there, the professor and I are in the front, we go nonstop all day. And then I think I have a cocktail party. I think what do you guys order? I think I'll get you a grape knee-high or something.
He's Anthony's a big Zima guy.
Zima, is he really? I'll get you a Bud Light. I'll get you a Bud Light.
Perfect. Charles, hey man, we really enjoyed having you on and appreciate your approach to multifamily, right? Is what you touched on during the episode was everybody and their brother becoming a syndicator.
Yeah.
We've seen that in the amount of people that reach out to us to want to be on the show.
Exactly.
And so we appreciate your approach and the insight that you provided on kind of hotels to apartments. So thanks again.
My pleasure, guys. Good to see you again. And make sure you come over to my podcast, folks, so you can see how I grilled these two clowns for half an hour.
What's the name of your podcast again?
Multifamily Investing Academy. Oh, do you mean my award-winning podcast? There it is.
I set you up for that,
podcast
Charles.
of the year. Yep.
That looks good. Well done, Charles. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Hey, man, we're happy for you, and thanks again.
Thanks. Good to see you guys.
Take care.
Go make it a fantastic day.
Thanks, you too.